Okay, everybody. I'm going to call the order Woodstock Community Zoning Commission meeting for March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, at 7:35. Very green. So I try to dress for the occasion if I can. We'll do a roll call. I'll start with Mr. Blackmer. Do you mind starting us off?
Got it. Mark Blackmore.
Joseph Adeletta, Dean Gould,
Jeff Gordon.
Jeffrey Marcotte. Joe Fulwick.
And on Zoom, we have, I want to make certain we get folks, Nancy Frazier, you're there. And David Morse, you're there.
Here.
All right, that covers commissioners. Designation of alternates, we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need 2, 7, 8, no, 1, I believe. Well, we only have 1 alternate here tonight anyway. So, Mr. Gould, we will seat you.
Woohoo.
Did you bring green beer to celebrate, or is that tomorrow?
I should have.
Yeah. There's still time if you want to go and get something like that. We'll about that is seated. That takes us then to Pledge of Allegiance. Honors, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Takes us to chair's reports. I just have a couple of items, my usual thank yous for commissioners for attending the meetings. We have been booking our extra meeting of the month. However, it is actually not next week, but it's posted to be the 31st. The reason is that when I filed with the town clerk, I didn't realize we had 5 Thursdays in this month. So I posted it with the town clerk saying the last Thursday of each month through May. And then I was told recently that the last Thursday is actually the 31st. So we're posted to have a meeting the 31st. So otherwise it reverts back. It's still actually all going to be the last ones. That actually, I think, works in your favor, Delia, because that gives you some extra time you feel you need to get certain additional things together and some draft stuff together from what you told me. So I apologize. I didn't realize we had 5 Thursdays this month, but as I meant, it is advantageous to Delia if we hold the meeting on the 31st. That's posted. So because we posted them all through May. So you wanted to just go ahead and post the last Thursdays, which is the 4th Thursdays through May before we have that June deadline. So we've provisionally done it, but we can change them or cancel them as needed. That makes sense.
Yeah.
We've already gone ahead and posted for an additional meeting in April and May.
Okay.
So in addition to the 1st and 3rd Thursdays, April and May, we also have a 4th Thursday. Just this month, it's the 5th Thursday, not the 4th.
Are you looking for some action?
No, just
Oh,
mentioning.
okay.
So that way people don't show up next week and wonder why the doors are closed. So I didn't realize we had 5 Thursdays this month. It's one of those special months. I just came from the Board of Selectmen's meeting tonight. We brought up to them the approved updates to the land use fee ordinance. We had approved those on December 16th. We brought those to the Selectmen's meeting. They didn't seem to have any issue. They told me it was straightforward. They're going to be looking likely for a meeting, not the meeting that tackles the town budget, but they're going to look for whatever town meeting after that. But it is on their list, and they thought it was fine what was proposed, and they'll let us know exactly which meeting that's going to be. So hopefully that will sail through. I'll let you guys know when we find out. Certain folks from the commission are able to attend. That would be good. In case there's any questions. Otherwise, hopefully it'll be straightforward at a town meeting. And just to let people know who are on Zoom, hopefully you're hearing things well. We do have the soundproof tiles that have now gone in. I have been told that when they had the town meeting, I think it was last night, I wasn't able to go, that it was definite improvement for sound quality in this room. Hopefully for folks on, I don't know, David, Nancy, are you able to hear okay? Good. I know it's made a difference in why we don't otherwise have to have a lot of the mics set up. So that's a positive. So, citizens' comments, are there any comments by citizens not on any other agenda item that we already have listed? Checking on here, nope, okay. That takes us to meeting minutes. We have two meeting minutes. One is February 17th and one is February 24th. What's the will of the commission?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second. A motion by Markov, seconded by that. Seconded by Blackmer to approve the two meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion on it, Joe?
Just a quick typographical comment on the February 17th meeting minutes, item 6, non-residential zoning permits. Just it's supposed to be 2022, March 17, 2022. And at least my copy is 2021.
You're right.
Minor. Okay. Other than that,
Okay. Does anyone have anything else relative to the meeting minutes? Just want to check to make certain. Nancy, David, do you have anything?
No.
Further, I'll go through the roll as we have some commissioners on Zoom. Joe Adaletta,
aye.
Mark Blackmer,
Aye.
Sid Blodgett,
Aye.
Nancy Frazier,
Aye.
Jeff Gordon, aye. Dean Gould,
Aye.
Jeff Markov,
Aye.
David Morris,
Aye.
Joe Palula.
Aye.
I take it that that passes. Thank you, Amy, for doing the meeting minutes. We're still waiting for the pictures to show up on the meeting minutes, but I know you're busy. That then takes us to the next agenda item. We've been tabling this for some months because I know there's been NDDH approval pending. This is agenda item 5A, 440 Route 198, A Touch of Life LLC. Correct me if I'm wrong, either Delia or Ashley, the only thing we were waiting for was NDDH.
Yes.
Okay, and we did get it, but I believe that was in everybody's meeting packet. And there was nothing, no other documents, I believe, we received that we needed for it. That was the only thing we were waiting for. So is there anything otherwise from your point of view? Ashley, I believe that was
Yeah,
all we
everything,
needed.
yeah, everything else was the same.
Okay. Certainly, you're welcome if there's anything you want to say or ask us. You're not required to. We're just waiting for this one additional item. So.
That's what we're waiting for your decision.
I'm glad we've been able to wait for the end for NVDA. I'll open it up if commissioners have any questions or any comments, or what's the will of the commission?
Make a motion to accept the application as presented.
And is there a second?
I'll second it.
That was you?
Yep.
Okay, so motion by Adeletta, second by Gould to approve the non-residential zoning permit as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll go through the roll. Joe Adeletta.
Aye.
Mark Blackmer.
Aye.
Sid Blodgett.
Aye.
Nancy Frazier.
Aye.
Jeff Gordon. Aye. Dean Gould.
Aye.
Jeff Markov.
Aye.
David Morse.
Aye.
And last but not least, Joe Flula.
Aye.
I take it that so passes. Congratulations. We certainly wish you the best. You'll do whatever you need to do post-approval with Ashley. She'll work her magic and do whatever needs to be done post-approval. Right along. Thank you all. You have a good evening.
Take care. Drinks are at the Thai.
What?
All right.
Drinks are on us at the Thai restaurant.
Did we put that as a condition of approval?
That's a good applicant.
It is. I think what we need to make certain is that the next time we look at the zoning regulations, we put some of these things in as automatic conditions of
Conditions, yeah.
approval. That the CEO informs applicants of.
Got it.
So. Okay, next is old business, which is 6. If all the stuff is electronic, we'll show it up electronic if we have all the files, whatever.
Okay.
If you want, it just will make it easier.
Put this up just in case. we-
Because we'll also be able to share the screen for people on. So this is agenda item 6A 3899709M, 727832 8B2. This is to a one lot proposed subdivision to convert a lot into a building lot. And just a few things, I just want to note, we did get some of these things late. But we did want to make certain we could include it for tonight's meeting. So there were some additional documents that have come out, I believe. Some of them were sent by email. Some were in the meeting, but I think some were sent by email. I remember, I think actually you were making copies of stuff.
Yeah,
for
I just,
people.
yep,
Yeah, so we did get the development review checklist that the regulations require. We did get the ENS control bond that the regulations require. We did get the updated map that was required to show the screen. And I'll just note for the record that the date of this updated map is March 8th. On page 1. And January 14th on page 2. And then I don't think there was anything else, but we'll go through all of that as we go through. Just open up for anything from staff. I don't know, Delia, Ashley, anything from your perspectives as far as this item since the last meeting? Okay. Yeah.
yeah, so they have to,
Okay. Yeah, but I just want to make certain it's clear. This is just for the subdivision, not for the driveway, which is, we have to open a public hearing for that. Otherwise, and then the only other thing we will note is that Ashley, from your perspective, I know the inland wetlands had said that once NDDH approval was in hand, that you as the wetlands agent could sign off on this.
Yeah.
So as wetlands agent, you've seen the NDDH approval and
yeah,
you're fine and signed off.
yep. I will just say, Bill Rowinski from the Inland Wetlands Commission is on the Zoom, so I'm not sure if he has any other comments.
We'll get to that then as we go through on this.
Okay.
But otherwise, for all intents and purposes, if the inland wetlands in their meeting had authorized you to sign off once NDDH, you're fine now that NDDH has signed off.
Yeah, so they have to get their final approval to construct, but they have their initial
Okay.
approval.
Right, we do have something from NDH, but I just want to make certain because it's an important item for this.
Yeah.
As far as where we stand with inland wetlands and wetlands agent. We can't finalize our approval unless
Yeah.
that's taken care of. So that's why I just wanted to bring it up.
Yep, they're
on the
good.
record.
They're good from our
That's been
perspective.
taken care of.
Yep.
From your perspective. Okay. We can get into the NDH document as we go through, but I just wanted to make that noted because that was something the commission had been looking for.
Yep.
So, okay. So what I'll do is I'll open it up. Thank you for coming. If you can just state your name for the record so we can record it. And we have stuff up on the screen as well for this, and then I'll open up the commissioners and anybody else.
My name is David Heldman, I'm a professional engineer and land surveyor with Provost and Rivero. Also, into the applicant. And Jeremy did a wonderful job of summarizing the application, so I don't have a whole lot more to add. We did discuss this briefly at the last meeting, so this is a conversion of what is currently an agricultural lot into an approved building lot. So this This was created by breaking up a piece of property into 3 different parcels, one of which would be considered an improved building lot because it had an existing house. This being one of the lots, we're here for a 1-lot subdivision approval to just turn this into a buildable lot so Mr. Flynn can build his personal residence there. As noted, we do have approval for the septic system design from the Northeast District Department of Health. We do have the inland wetlands approval. And the only outstanding issue with regards to the subdivision application from last month was just adding the water course. We also did add a note here, which may be of interest for this, probably not, regarding repairing the stone wall after utilities were put in from the pole along the road, to clarify what we had talked about last month. So the dimensional requirements as far as side yard setbacks, front yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks are all shown to be in compliance on the site plan that you have in front of you. So I have no further information to present unless there are any questions and the materials have been submitted.
I'll open up to commissioners if any commissioners have questions or any comments. Go.
Yeah, I had a question.
Sure,
Did
go
you
for
get a chance to check the culvert size upstream?
I believe it's a 24-inch pipe. You know, it's not on our property, so I don't necessarily have rights to go onto the property and measure it. So looking at it from the vantage point where I am allowed to look at it, it looks like a 24-inch pipe.
It looked like, and that's a driveway, it goes underneath a driveway up there, does it?
Correct, that goes to an existing house.
Is there any evidence that that driveway ever overtopped?
Not that I can notice, no. There's no gravel or sand or anything deposited in the water course. It looks like it's.
I'll also note that for the ENS control bond, which we'll have to approve as part of an overall approval for this, if that's what we so choose, is in the amount of $2,649.03. And that does include the percentage contingency that the regulations require. So we'll just note that for the record. That's there for that. Anything else from commissioners? I don't know if there's anything, I don't see on the screen, but I don't know if there's anything. David Morse or Nancy Frazier, do you have any questions?
Nope, I'm all set.
Did you have something to say?
Mr. Held, thank you very much for adding the water course to the site plan. And we received some additional information, and I'm just not clear about the sequence of this. I see a letter dated December 14th last year from soil scientist Mr. Thoreau to you, identifying wetlands and water courses on the site. I'm guessing with that, you did some mapping, you went to the Inland Wetlands, the Water Course Agency with a plan that did not show the stream. They approved it, not seeing the stream. It then went to Ms. Stevens for her sign off without the stream on it, and she signed it. You came here not showing the stream last month. We asked you to put it on, you did. Perhaps it's my fault. I didn't ask you to also include the 125-foot upland review area. So I took out a ruler and a pencil and tried to sketch that in myself. And if I'm right, it appears that that review area includes part of the limits of disturbance. So that would be land clearing, grading, and the outlet of a drainage pipe. Just kind of explain, well, I guess first, am I right in sequence? And then we seem to be not getting the full picture of the stream and its review area and potential impacts, nor has the Inland Wetlands Agency water course seen it.
Mr. Hall?
You are correct in the sequence of events, yes. You do have your wetlands agent here. I mean, it's perfectly okay with me if you want to inquire if that has any impact on her opinion of the approvability, I guess, of the application as it was presented to wetlands.
Delia, I'm sorry. say that
Go
all.
ahead.
Delia, you got a question or a comment?
I don't want to step on the toes of the wetlands agent, but this commission has to be careful not to try to assume the responsibility of the wetlands agency. They have totally different responsibilities, and they're charged with protecting and regulating wetlands in the upland review area. So if there's a concern about the decision, you'd have to go through the appeals procedure for the wetlands decision. That's not a decision for this commission to address, in my opinion.
I don't know if Ashley, as the wetlands agent, there was anything from your perspective. You've seen this new map. I know you work with the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency, and you've seen the new map. I don't want to speak for you as far as your thoughts relative to this or any concerns you had relative to ultimately signing off on it, authorized by Inland Wetlands.
No, it's still in the upland review area, so it's not something I would not feel comfortable signing. In the Wetlands Commission looked at it. I realized they may not have seen the water course, but that's still outside of even the 100-foot wetland regulated area, upland review area. Just looking at it, seems like at least 200 feet, so it's not even like that close to the water course where it seems like it would be an issue. So I still have no issues with it.
Okay. Okay. Is there something you wanted to add, Delia, or did anybody have any other questions? Joe? I'm sorry, I didn't. Did you have something? Then
Just
Joe.
for clarification, in the future, Connecticut General Statutes 8-26E actually requires the wetlands agency to make a decision on an application that also has a subdivision application. The statutes don't authorize the agent to do it. It's the agency that has to make that decision.
But just to follow up on that, if, say, for example, in this case, Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency made a motion to have the wetlands agent, I guess the motion here was have Ashley Stevens notify the Planning and Zoning Commission that IWWA has no objection to development as proposed on application, blah, blah, blah. Would then be in the purview of IWWA that, since they've delegated to the wetlands agent, they've made a decision and said, follow through with it.
I would think their decision is that it can be approved as soon as they receive the health department approval. I mean, I can't speak for them, but the statutes don't say they can delegate, but their decision is that it should be approved as soon as the health department approval comes in.
So this very
Mr. Hill?
issue was discussed with them during their meeting by me, because I'm aware of what the statutes say. And they assured me that this is how they do things basically, and that this was not an issue. I asked them to please be very clear in portraying that this constitutes the Wetlands Commission's approval of the subdivision, whether it's delegated or not. So, on an issue. So,
And thank you for doing that. And it sounds like, for us, you're right, there is a different jurisdiction outside of what we do. But if Inland Wetlands has already made their decision, they can move forward with it and utilizing the wetlands agent to finalize the decision. That's what we have, before us, but that's their jurisdiction, not our jurisdiction in a sense. But Sid?
I agree with you. It's not our jurisdiction. However, in both the zoning regulations and the subdivision regulations, specifically Chapter 9 entitled Stormwater and Erosion Sediment Control, it does say for us, planning and zoning, to preserve and protect wetlands, stream buffers, natural drainage systems, and other natural features. Again, I agree the jurisdiction lies with IWWA and or the wetlands agent, but if we discover something like we have, I think it's our responsibility to at least put it out there. And maybe it's not our decision that whether this gets remanded to IWWA or not, but I just feel we have a responsibility to address, at least make the public and the applicant and others aware of it.
And also then by extension, we have notified the wetlands agent is aware. So we'll see, I guess, if wetlands agent is aware and has seen this additional plan, and does not have any issue with it, then be enough to suffice for us to move forward. And we don't ultimately make the decision for IWWA, but we're enough about having the water course on the plan, so the current plan doesn't show it as good. So that way it's, we have a plan. Would that address your concern then, having had the input now of Ashley? Based upon the water course on the plan?
Yep.
We'll just make certain it's noted for the record then that the concerns have been addressed, or, you know. We look at relative to our regulations and what's now on the plan. You have something, Joe?
Yes, just two things. One, just kind of reinforcing Sid's concern about the sequence of the process. And I'm not worried about this. I think it's okay, but just the overall principle of where this commission seeing new information that's not on a drawing, and it's now added to a few subsequent drawing. That kind of information might be of value to a different commission or agency, and I think that's why it's important to make sure all the information is on a detailed map before it comes to us and before it goes to IWWA. So it was. It seems like something that should have been on there, even though it's an intermittent stream. The other point, and I don't know if you're still going to get to it, but the NDDH approval or letter. I don't want to jump the gun if you have something to say about it.
Go ahead.
Just maybe somebody can explain how this is something that the commission can interpret as an approval if the letter says this is not to be construed as an approval to construct the septic system and does not indicate that the Northeast District Department of Health endorses approval for issuance of any building permit.
So, Mr. Held, and then I'll have your comment.
Yeah, this is another item with understanding the sequence of events that has to take place to build on a lot. A permit to construct is only issued to a licensed septic system installer. The health department will take a copy of their license. They'll receive a copy of the detailed house plans to verify bedroom counts, and they'll issue a permit to construct. That letter that you have is an approval of this plan. Would allow whoever Mr. Flynn uses as a licensed installer to go pull the construction. It's similar to getting a building permit. Your approval of this subdivision does not give him the right to go build this house. You would have to, in this case, it would be him. You would have to have the licensed contractor go pull a building permit. It's a similar process.
Okay, I just don't recall the commission getting a letter from NDDH saying they don't approve the plan, and then we go ahead and approve the application. That's why I'm trying to understand
Typically with the
that.
health department, there's 3 steps you would go through for a subdivision. We've kind of circumvented one because it's only one lot. Typically, you would get a subdivision approval where they say, yes, these lots or this lot is feasible for future development. And they'll put some other caveat in that letter that says this isn't an approval of a particular septic system design or a permit to construct anything. It's an approval that the lot is feasible for future development. In this case, we knew what he was going to build. We did the detailed septic design, so they issued that approval letter approving the design plan. And then there's that 3rd step where his licensed installer comes in. Security permit to construct.
Did you have something?
Sure, this is exact same letter that we got on everything. They may have slightly different language, but all subdivisions are not the final site plan. I mean, like his maybe because it's only one lot and he's not selling it to Mr. Byers who's gonna build a house. He's gonna build his own house. And typically a subdivision has generic square for a house. And when they sell it to someone who's gonna build the actual house, then they have all the plan for the actual house. Then they go quite a bit more detail. So we essentially get a letter just like this on every subdivision application.
Will there be a follow-up letter once the design or the installation of the septic system is?
It doesn't come back to this commission, it moves on to then they need the zoning permit, and they need the
Okay.
building permit, and before they can do the building permit, they'll need that approval to discharge.
And that'll be on file somewhere in the building office?
Yeah.
The final, okay. Okay.
One question I have, I don't remember if I asked this, but maybe in the- I'm assuming we have pictures that are of Mr. Held and of Mr. Spalding on the application. I know we have a Mr. Flynn. Is that in the one in the file? Sometimes the copies we get don't show all the signatures.
So what we submitted in lieu of Mr. Spalding's signature on the application form itself was a signed consent letter authorizing Mr. Flynn and our firm to submit applications to the town. department.
So I just want to make certain we have that, and then also on the application. Yep, so I just want to make certain it's covered, and then also on here, the contact person / representative. Let's say David Held, but I just want to make certain what's in file has been signed. We actually was required. Sometimes the copies we get don't show all the signatures.
Oh.
But on this one here. Just want to make certain we're covered.
This is consenting to having the house represent that.
Well, it's Mr. Flynn who's supposed to, Mr. Spalding, who's supposed to sign anyway.
He's signing it, so.
So I just want to make certain because we do have a spot here that says signature.
Mhm.
That's how it's from sign here.
Correct, but then there's also one for Mr. Held, so contact person representative. That's why I just want to make certain that's of the applicant. But I just want to make certain we have that on file, because we do require signatures. That's why that's on the form. It's not a minor thing, we just need to make certain we cover it in case somebody decides they want to appeal and we didn't follow what we were supposed to. So if it's not on in the file, we just need to make certain, Mr. Held, that we signed as part of the signature. If it's not in the original paperwork.
I honestly don't remember.
So we just need to make certain of that, that just gets.
Sure, I'll go grab it.
Yeah. no, it's there, so that way, it's always better to cross the T's and dot the I's. So, forward, so I just want to make certain that we're covered for that. So. That's easy enough to do. Is there anything else from Fish and Sid?
Jill is similarly, and this is probably just a procedural thing I'm not aware of, but the bottom of the site plan, there are 5 signature blocks. And then wetlands, soil scientist, engineer, and surveyor. I mean, now, which obviously we haven't signed off yet, but I'm assuming all the signatures will be obtained at some point. Do we typically get signed copies now,
We're
or?
often not signed at this stage, and usually the surveyor, because they don't have plans to differ. But we often don't get like the soil scientists until the end. We
Okay.
often get an engineer and a surveyor to sign it before the Mylar is taken. At some point, the final plans will have all the required signatures, and then Jeff signs it and it gets filed on the land records.
And one of the things I do before I sign off on Mylars is I actually look at that. See that. What's supposed to be on is actually supposed to be on, and including some of the text. So if there's certain things we wanted to put on the plan as part of conditions. Doesn't show or whatever Mylars I'm supposed to sign, I actually don't sign. Not that people are trying to pull a fast one else, but sometimes things get submitted and are forgotten to put on. So I actually do check that, and I do check for the signatures before I sign. If that answers your question.
Yeah.
As far as, because I do notice sometimes the copies we get, they don't have it all, but then when I go and sign a Mylar in the office, everything is there. But there is a system to check it to make certain.
Thank you.
So, is there anything from any other commissioners? Anything from David Morse or Nancy Fraser?
Nope.
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Guess our sound system works very well. Okay, what is the will of the commission?
I'll make a motion to accept the application, the one lot subdivision on Joy Road for Daniel Flynn.
And would you mind, Joe, putting in about approving the ENS control bond for the amount of $2,649.03?
So approved.
Thank you.
Second.
Oh, that's okay. So motion by Adaletta, second by Blackmer to approve the application as presented, and we note that the revision date of March 8th on the plan with ENS control bond of $2,649.03. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll go through the roll. Joe Adaletta,
Aye.
Mark Blackmer,
Aye.
Sid Blodgett,
Aye.
Nancy Frazier,
Aye.
Jeff Boyd, aye. Dean Gould,
Aye.
Mark Carr, aye. David Morse,
Aye.
Joe
Does he
Fuller.
want all this page?
That so passes. Thank you.
He wants what?
Yeah.
He wants this
Yep.
signed?
Signatures on
If
there.
it's not on, she'll have you sign it.
And this is only here.
He wants both of those signed.
Congratulations.
They really.
And some of the things
Okay.
that you have to go through, like this, into the details we have. If someone decides they want to appeal, if you follow our process, just readily throw it back to us. So. But thank you, Mr. Held, for signing. I know you're going to still be here with us tonight, because you have another item coming up. We have one quick item first before the public hearing. I know we scheduled a public hearing for 7:45, we're past that, but if you don't mind, we have one item. Or if you be okay with us taking it up. And then we're getting into your item and we'll have all of them. Thank you, I appreciate it. Here's our new business, which is agenda item 7. A, this is SP 5970809. Bond release request. For those of you who worked on the commission, this goes back some years relative to special permits and modification of special permits on Benton Field. And at the time, there were 3 buildings that were proposed to be I think it was concession / field house / storage building, maintenance building, and a baseball field storage. There was a bond posted for that. So the request is now coming before us with regards to release the bond. I'll first open it up to staff. I don't know, Ashley, Julia, was anything, who reviewed this? Both of you, or anything from your point of view, Ashley?
No, I think it's good to go. They never built anything, so
And the $6,000 and $6,020.03, I believe, includes whatever interest.
yeah,
Because I know it's more than what the original bond was for, so I'm assuming.
yeah, it's whatever interest is there too.
It's been built up, which would make sense if that does get taken into account.
Yep.
Do you have something, Delia, from a staff perspective,
Yes.
or?
Before an ENS bond should be released, there should be an inspection done to make sure there's no erosion. That's the purpose of the bond. And I had looked at the file to look at the itemized bonds. They did do construction, and before you release the final bond amount, there should be an inspection done to make sure the site is stable.
One question I just have to follow up on that is if nothing was built where these buildings were supposed to be, even though there's been other stuff that has been done elsewhere and already completed some time ago, still an inspection required? If nothing was ever built in that spot?
I'd still say that the inspection should be done. It's not like it costs anyone anything. And I could have done it. I had been requested to do it before the meeting, but I was told not to. I don't think we should release the bond until inspection is done.
I'll open it up for, before I open the resolution, I want to give an opportunity for the academy. If any of you have anything you want to say on this at all? Relative, not to the inspection, but to your application.
What time was made that an inspection wasn't allowed to happen? I'm just curious why that was.
I was told not to do an inspection.
If you don't mind, we all know who you are, but if you don't mind just stating your name, because we have to have it on the audio.
Sure. Chris Sanford, head of school,
Always a pleasure to see you at our meetings. So my understanding is then you guys are not planning, based upon this letter that's come to us, those buildings that were approved, haven't built, and based upon this letter, you're not looking to build.
That's correct.
Okay. And from a process point of view, deal, if they were to come back, say, a year, 10 years, or 100 years, and I won't be on the commission at that point in time. So, and they want to build 1, 2, or 3 of these buildings that we had prior approved, the process wouldn't be to modify the special permit. It would be just a simple process to come in.
The same buildings that are on the plan in the same place. I think they should come back to update the commission with an updated EMS bond contingency.
But not a whole special
Leave
permit.
it or a new
modification.
application, but if they want to change the buildings, move them to somewhere else, make them larger, something like that, or add, if they're gonna make the building larger, and then they decide they need more parking, you got some changes.
That'd be my, but if they just want to come back, say, in 2 years and say, no, we now want to build these buildings exactly as had been noted, they don't have to go through that whole modification of a special permit process. It's more a new ENS control bond.
They should come back and
Yes.
have the bond updated.
Right, and that which would be more or less a simple process. That's not a modification of a special permit.
Right.
So I just wanted to make certain that that was clear as far as what would happen if the academy came back and said, yeah, we do want to build it now exactly as we have proposed. There is a straightforward process for that, as opposed to the whole modification special permit, which wouldn't seem to make sense to have to put them through for that. Okay, Joe Cool,
I'm confused. No construction was done?
None.
Zero?
Zero.
Okay.
and that's why the release, the request to release the bond. Joe?
Well, there was clearly construction at Bentley Field, and I agree there was no construction specific to those buildings, but I think in the area and around where the buildings were going to be, there was just truck traffic and excavation for other areas.
So there was some disturbance of land that
No.
required reseeding and vegetation.
But wasn't that already
Yeah.
looked into prior?
Yeah, in 2013 or whatever it was, $34,000 out of the $40,000 was released for what was built and for what was used for the ENS bond. So the 6,000 is really only for those other buildings,
That were never
never
constructed.
built.
The
So
ground was never disturbed to construct them. So that's why
Correct.
I'm just trying to think through
So
the
I'm not-
process.
I'm not even sure that you could use that. And I'm not sure technically, but I'm not sure if you could use that $6,000 if something went wrong with the other construction. Because that 6,000 was left for those other 3 buildings.
So I understand the principle of reviews before we release bonds. But I just want to make sure I'm clear in my mind. If a gigantic amount of that bond was already prior approved to be released, it would have been an inspection. Was it design professionals who did that inspection, or CEO at the time and had to do an inspection?
They would have done inspection for anything that was engineered. Like, I would have done ENS inspection if it was for stuff that was not engineered.
But we did approve at the time to release that part of the bond. If this is a remaining part of the bond, that nothing's been constructed whatsoever, which means the ground wouldn't have then been disturbed to even build these buildings, then would we still need an inspection if nothing was ever done? Even though everything else was already inspected and we already approved releasing the remainder of the bond. I'm just trying to think through a process as far as, it's one thing if they had built one building and now they don't want to build the other 2, and then they want some, and then it's like, okay, something has to be looked at. But if nothing was ever built there and we've already had the release of the 34,000 done for everything else, including anything in that whole property, would it make sense to have to do an inspection if nothing then was done relative to the 6,000? I'm just trying to think it through. Joe?
I would suggest that we have a conditional release, and if there's, at this meeting, we can perhaps vote to release the bond after an inspection to confirm that everything's intact.
can still vote to release the bond and not have to tie things up.
I mean, and if there's any question that comes back after the inspection, then either the release can be held until the commission hears what the issue is and which is it from that perspective. But if nothing was disturbed, there shouldn't be anything to inspect or nothing to hold up the release of the bond after the inspection.
Mr. Sanford?
So the inspection is gonna be to walk over and find out that where the building was supposed to be built, nothing built. That's what I'm understanding.
The ground's not disturbed, that could cause erosion. I mean, that's what I'm taking from. It's not that the building was not built, but that the potential erosion effect of construction in the area or excavation, there's nothing disturbed.
So the 6,000 was for erosion, not for the buildings?
Erosion control, right?
It was
It's
for erosion and sediment control.
Right, so nothing, so you're gonna go over and, just so I understand, you walk over to the place and say nothing moved, there's been no erosion on this flat piece of land when you reach them up.
Yeah, I guess so. Right? Is that's what you're looking at, Delia?
Yes.
So yes, I guess that's
Okay.
all it is. I don't know where the buildings are supposed to go, so if it,
I just want to make sure I understand.
Yep.
Realistically what this process is.
No, I understand, because I guess from my point of view, if nothing was ever built there, it's already otherwise been inspected. I understand what you're saying, Joe. But I guess if the commission were to vote for an inspection, we would vote to release the bond condition of, would be you, Ashley, that would go and take a look as the zoning enforcement officer?
Sure.
And if there isn't anything, you just sign off in the bond. Well, actually, it has to go through the treasurer's office, finance office, right?
Yeah.
To process the release, which.
Yeah, I
how
just read,
soon can you, well, the townhouse not open on Fridays. You can't go tonight, but how
Yeah.
soon can you go? So we're not having to delay any of this for the academy, which to me seems to be a straightforward process.
yeah, I can get there on Tuesday, not in on Monday.
So I guess the issue before us is, do we even want to have the inspection? And if we do, so as not to really delay anything, and the earliest the finance office can handle anything would be Monday anyway. Because nothing's open tomorrow here. So that would then be the other option, would be approve the release for the full amount, condition that our zoning enforcement officer does the inspection. If the zoning enforcement officer raises a concern, it has to come back to us.
I'll make that.
Okay.
Okay. So let me write this down. So that way it's all clear. So it would be release bond, which is what, that's $6,022.03. But we're saying it's a condition on ZEO inspection. And you said, well, we don't have to put the motion after Tuesday and adjudicate it. This is pretty quick. And if you sign off on your quote unquote inspection, it's all processed. But you'll otherwise let the finance office know what we've otherwise approved, so they at least have a heads up about it.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you see the sites all rutted up, let us know.
Did you have something further to
Yeah,
say?
just to add, it's important to note that the town contacted us to do this process. Just, it isn't us coming to the zoning to try to get our money. It was, we requested, just so people understand. We're trying to help the town get its books, I guess.
Yes, yeah, no, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah. We're trying to make certain we can do whatever process we can do. Nothing's going to be open tomorrow here anyway, so earliest would be Monday. But if you're able to do that inspection Tuesday, it shouldn't then take you long. You can just take care of it. You have to notify the finance department anyway, because they have to process stuff.
Yeah.
So stuff would be processed. The earliest anything could be handled would be Monday anyway by that office. So we should be able to get things taken care of for this. Okay. Do we have any further discussion on the motion? Okay. So I think we've also covered the process of what would happen in the future if one or more of these, or up to 3 of these buildings as prior approved wants to be brought forward for a simple process and what will cover a special permit modification. So we're all clear on the record about that. I think it would be good to have that, you know, my name in the minutes, because if some future commission has to tackle it, it's always nice to have it clear, so thank you to make things set. So I'll go through the roll. Joe Adeletti,
Aye.
Mark Blackburn,
Aye.
Sid Blodgett,
Aye.
Nancy Frazier,
Aye.
Jeff Gordon, aye. Dean Gould,
Aye.
Jeff Markot,
Aye.
David Morse.
I abstain.
We'll note that, Dave. And Joe Blua.
Aye.
That so passes. Thank you. You're welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting.
On second site tonight.
Okay, the next then is actually, this takes us to a public hearing. We have to switch. Do we have anything we have? Oh, we still show the same map, right? So this is technically a separate application. This is, and we're going to open up the public hearing. I do want to mention a few things because it is a public hearing. The reason we have to do a public hearing is because of the ordinance concerning the designation of scenic roads. It does require that if there's going to be anything done that falls within the purview of section 4A, that the Planning and Zoning Commission has to have a public hearing. We did note at our last monthly business meeting that we were going to call a public hearing for tonight. So it is so noted. There's a couple of record-keeping things I want to have in the record for a public hearing. The fees have been paid, Ashley.
Yes,
A public hearing sign's been posted within the required period of time.
Yep.
We do have public notices that were posted. Do we have, just want to note them for the record. Right, but for the ordinance, for the purpose of this public hearing, we're just talking about for the scenic road. Do we need to notify about or post something about the, that we're having a public hearing?
Actually, the legal notices.
Yeah.
The two legal notices?
Yeah.
Okay. I know the answers, Steve. I just want to make sure it's on the record so we're clear.
Because when I know that everybody was frontage on the road.
Yep, I was going to ask that. But it's owners of property abutting Joy Road. It's only the part of Joy Road that's scenic road from Route 169 to Gibbon Road. Everybody else isn't living on scenic road the way that it is approved. And then documents for this meeting, I will, without objection, incorporate the applicable parts of the ordinance because we have to follow it and certain things I have to note on the record about it. That we have the application. And we'll note we've already approved the one lot subdivision. So this lot now is an approved building lot. So that now allows us to tackle this. We do have, Delia, a memo from you dated February 24th and a memo from you to the Board of Selectmen and the Town Highway Foreman as required by the ordinance. Dated March 1st. So we haven't received anything from the Town Highway Foreman or the Board of Selectmen.
No.
We're not required to, we're just required to notify them. That has been so done, and the hearing notices are so noted. Put that on the record. Anything from Ashley, your perspective or on this?
no, everything looks good.
And Delia, anything from your perspective?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Mr. Held, is there anything you wish to let us know or discuss with us about?
For the record, I'm still David Heldman, professional engineer and land surveyor with Provost and Rivero. So the only activities associated with the scenic road within the right of way would be the construction of the driveway apron here, which 95% of which goes through an existing barway and stone wall. There may be a need to remove one or two stones there to get the required culvert width for the driveway, but for the most part, utilizing an existing barway. And then we're proposing underground utilities to the house with existing utility pole here, further to the north, And we've noted on the plans that the stone wall will be repaired after the utilities are installed to match the. There's no required clearing of mature trees along the road. The location of that barway, there's pretty good sight line already in both directions, a fair amount back from the edge of the pavement, so no clearing of trees is required there.
Anything from the commission's perspective? I just have one thing. I know this is technically a separate application because it's activity on a scenic road. I just want to make a note that if you have it signed, signature dated as the contact person representative, it can be taken care of tonight.
What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear. You.
This is a separate application form, so I
Yeah.
just want to make certain Mr. Held is signed.
Oh.
So, Probably have already tried or done whatever, so I'm not concerned about that. I just want to make certain that's taken care of as a requirement of the way. Joe?
Was, oh. Just want to ask if the sightline distances were noted on the drawing. Just
Okay. We'll
Wait a
ask
minute,
Mr. Held
right,
as soon as he's
right.
done.
Just if the sightline distances were noted on the drawing.
They were not.
Follow up on that. Any sightline issues relative to where this driveway is being, but I don't think there would be, given where it's located. But from your perspective, Mr. Held on that?
No, I mean, I would estimate that certainly to the southeast, it's probably 400 feet or more. To the northwest, probably 300.
Thank you. Sid, yes.
So just for clarification, homeowners or property owners pay the driveway, and that doesn't come before us on the scenic road.
Whoever wants to do it needs to get the approval.
Right.
So the homeowner, the property owner, which is usually the same person, or the contractor, whoever's gonna submit the application. They have the approval of the property owner, if they're not the property owner.
They don't need to come before us and go through this process. They simply want to pay the driveway. We don't regulate that. under the
Oh.
scenic road regulations.
Paving is included in the ordinance.
Into the town right away.
If you're
Yeah, it's
in that
just-
portion that's between the edge of the, so it's like the boundary line on one side and the edge of the right of way on the other side,
Right.
across the road to the other boundary line. In that space is where the ordinance regulates the stuff that's in the ordinance.
And that's all we get involved in.
Yep.
Okay.
So we are proposing to have a paved apron for the driveway. I think that's probably a requirement to get a driveway permit. Typically, that would extend about to the right-of-way limits, if not a little bit beyond that. So I think we should assume that whatever portion of the driveway is within this application would be paved.
And also the stone wall. If the stone wall is in the right of way or is the boundary of the right of way, that also has to be talked about. Removing part of the wall and then replacing that still an activity.
Technically, the stone wall is owned completely by the property owner.
So it's
The
not in
space
the
of the
right of
wall delineates the right of way, but
Okay, so that's
we're not
fine.
proposing to remove anything except maybe for one or two stones to get the driveway lit and temporary disturbance to put in the utilities.
Or whatever's done in the right of way does fall under the ordinance. Yes.
Have you spoken with the highway department? We don't have anything from them. We usually get something from them. Have you already spoken with them about this?
I have not.
I don't really get something from them.
The ordinance doesn't require it. The ordinance requires that the town highway foreman be notified.
No, but my point is that if you make your decision and close the hearing, and then the highway foreman wants them to change,
Hmm.
then the hearing's closed. And you can't put in new information. I don't want to hold the meeting up, but I wouldn't want the highway foreman to then require something that you have to do a whole application for.
But on the other hand, the highway foreman's been notified we were having this public hearing.
Right.
not only notified about the hearing, but notified about the application itself and
Correct.
where the driveway will be on the scenic road. Okay, so the foreman knows about it.
How wide is the driveway gonna be?
Okay.
We're proposing 12 feet wide and then 5 foot radius. I mean, I'm happy proceeding at our risk for that to take place because we have no technical issue with the driveway.
It's
But
not-
that's the part that's the subject of this application.
Again, if the highway foreman's been notified, if the highway foreman chooses not to send any communication, he or she, whatever, is not required to send us, but if the highway foreman didn't feel there was anything to have to communicate to us, the highway foreman's been notified per the provision of the ordinance. If the highway foreman chooses not to provide to us, I'm not saying that's bad necessarily. Highway foreman may not have felt there was anything, and thus not to have to communicate to us. That opportunity's been provided. If something is brought up later by the highway foreman, and we've already closed the hearing, that the highway foreman's been duly notified and given the opportunity, I don't see there's any liability on us, because we,
No, I'm just thinking that I've often seen his driveway permits come back as being wider than that. Maybe wider than, like if he proposes 12 feet with a 5 foot radius and the highway only wants a wider apron, that portion that exceeds what's on his plan didn't get approved. If he approved it.
but then otherwise we would have to tie up a public hearing for a month. The
I don't
highway
wanna tie
foreman,
him up,
I
just
know,
wanna make it-
oh, I know, but on the other hand, the highway foreman's been notified as per the provision of the regulation. We haven't received anything, we're not required to, but that would be a different process than if the highway foreman then later decides something different. My understanding is this driveway meets the standards for subdivision driveway,
I'm fine with it.
is my understanding, so it meets the regulation. I believe when I have looked at the subdivision regulation, as far as what we require for a single driveway. I guess that would have to be a different process if after the fact, the highway foreman chooses to do something different. Already proceeded and posted a public hearing and notified.
Yeah, basically, if the highway foreman goes to apply for his driveway permit, says no, you need to build a bigger driveway from them. Back and have a public hearing for new activity on scenic road, but knowing the lack of technical issues out there, and the fact that it didn't comment on it, we're comfortable with.
Now, is there a road ditch out there now?
Not in that location, really, no.
No, so there's no need for a culvert, is what you're saying?
No, there's a little bit of a ditch that starts up in this area and then it goes to a cross culvert here, but. in the proposed area location.
It flows in the other direction towards that culvert.
Yes, a small portion of it. From like here flows down to this culvert, but for the most part, this is picking up things from the north.
So you're saying there's no need for a culvert underneath this driveway?
Further from commissioners? I don't know, David or Nancy, did you have anything?
No.
Okay.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Anything further from the commission? Otherwise, what's the pleasure of the commission? Well, actually, we have to close the public hearing. I'm sorry, did you
I
have a
realize it's probably nobody here compared to it. I don't think you've ever asked the public for comments. It's a public hearing.
oh, is there any members of the public? Otherwise, I haven't seen anybody who's wanting to speak. Okay. What's the will of the commission relative to closing the public hearing? Wait a second.
Second.
So motion by Markoff, seconded by Blackmer to close the public hearing. I'll go through the roll. Joe Adaletta.
Aye.
Mark Blackmer.
Aye.
Sid Belage.
Aye.
Nancy Frazier.
Aye.
Ed Gordon. Aye. Dean Gould.
Aye.
Jeff Markoff.
Aye.
David Morse.
Aye.
Joe Palula.
Aye.
That so passes, the public hearing is closed. Okay, magically, we're now on to Agenda item 9, which is 6530222. This is not the public hearing, this is post-public hearing deliberation and decision-making by the commission. Normally, when we're at this phase, we open up the our discussion via a motion. We to approve this application as presented.
I'll move to approve the application as presented.
Is that you, Dean?
Yep.
That was you, Jeff. So motion by Dean Rule, seconded by Jeff Markle to approve the activity on a scenic road application as presented. Do we have any discussion? I'll just follow up the note about the signature so we don't forget about it, because we just need to bring it up in post-public hearing deliberation. We'll take care of that actually.
Yep.
So, anything else from the commission? Hearing none, I'll go through the roll. Joe Adaletta,
Aye.
Mark Blackman,
Aye.
Sid Rogers,
Aye.
Nancy Frazier, Jeff Gordon, Dean Gould,
Aye.
Jeff Markot, David Morris,
Aye.
and Joe Perula.
Aye.
That so passes. Congratulations. Thank you for being here tonight. You'll work with Ashley on whatever magic needs to be done in the office to do the post-approval finalization. Whoever staff does it can do it. Fine. Okay, we don't have any preliminary discussion, correct? So that takes us then to updates for the town's affordable housing plan. I just want to make certain people got, we can show documents on the screen if you need to, but we have the data analysis and needs assessment that was sent out March 10th. And then there was the housing survey results, which is a separate document, right, Delia?
Yes.
Anything you want to tell us initially about any of this stuff, or is there anything additionally that you're working on?
Survey results, if you like. Both mailed these to you and emailed them to you.
I just want to know, we have 473 completed surveys. That is, yes, that is actually.
What more than you have for your kids.
We have more than we have with this town budget. We might have set a record, but actually, I just want to thank everybody who, just not commissioners who completed this, but also members of the public. There was, I think, a good effort trying to get out there and remind people about it. I think, what, 99% of people did it online, right? But to get 473 people, that's good. So I'm glad we were able to get, some good numbers of people who wanted to respond, but also provided some comments, some interesting on it. So I think 473 is an achievement. You're right. I think this is definitely more than we got for POCD.
That was either, it was 200 and something, either 220 or 230.
We spent a lot longer advertising on POCD than we did this. And there's nothing like social media to really get the message out.
And you can do it on your phone, and the QR code is so much easier than having to. go to a website.
If you wanted to take us through, some of the survey results, and then
So
we can
the
see.
473 people, 91.8% were year-round residents, 0.9 seasonal, 40.2 property owner. We think that probably people didn't understand that they could have checked more than one, because 91.8% of the people who are year-round residents, probably a lot of more of them were property owners than the 42.2%. But and then you have 1.3% people who don't live here but are interested in moving to Woodstock.
People confuse property owner with just land. Or more than
Yeah,
the.
maybe. So, for how long people have lived here, the majority of the people who took the survey have lived here for more than 20 years.
Now, if you've lived here for more than 20 years, does that qualify for you to say that you're a resident of Woodstock? Does that you have to be here for like 50 years or go back 5 or 6 generations?
No, if you're not born here, you're not a resident.
I just wasn't clear with the definition. I'm in the 20-year or
Sorry.
whatever. So I don't know if I can actually call myself, a quote unquote Woodstock resident, so.
And here's the age range of the people who took the survey. So you see sort of like its own little population of the baby boom. We have like a little boom there in the middle. 40 to 69 is the bulk of your respondents. Ninety-9% of your respondents are the homeowner or the head of household.
It could be if the husband took the survey, he said he was, and the wife took the survey, she said she was.
Also, one person commented lifelong lease.
Sometimes I'm not sure about the written, maybe they didn't understand, like the person that says living in our own home, new owned by family. Their own home. I don't know what they mean. Anyways, so the type of household, the majority of your respondents, 39.3% of married households with children living at home, and the next group is 30.2% married households without children living at home. And I found that I was trying to make it not a question about whether people procreated, I'm just trying to find out the composition of the household. But I think some of the written in responses showed that they didn't they took it too literally.
Interesting information.
Well, one of the respondents that wrote in their answer was to raise 2 children in a married household. So that they have children,
Yeah.
not whether they live in the household now.
Yeah.
But the question, the survey is not about family size or that kind of thing. It's just about the number of people who live in the home, trying to get an idea of the type of home that people want.
Although a couple of people did mention about parents living in accessory apartments.
Yes. And the monthly income, 49.7% at $5,501 a month.
Was that a pre-selected list of income ranges?
I
Or
came up with that list.
who came up?
Was 5,500 is what, 60,000 plus
66,000.
66,000?
So it's not even hitting the area minimum median income.
When all of us at NECOG were doing a whole bunch of housing plans at the time, and we were discussing what surveys to do, someone had proposed a similar question, but their income ranges were much, much lower. And so I bumped them up.
Yeah, but I think it was
I don't
good.
know how much higher I should bump it, but
So during the previous graphic, I think you described what the state determines affordable based on, would it be possible, or is it not, wouldn't it be right to kind of draw that line in here somewhere? So we could see which of these income categories fall above and below that state formula?
work on that for next month, and I can make a new graphic that shows something like that.
It's not too much trouble, just be kind of curious to see.
I could have had an upper limit that was higher, just how many questions, how many options do you put in a question?
Oh,
And
yeah.
the longer it gets, the less interested people are in doing the survey.
Did the software app create these bullets for you, these writings, or did you have to actually go through them all? And
No, this is, came out of like when you download the survey results. And when on the little chart, some of the text on the side of the bar graph was too small, so I would add a text box so that you could actually read what it says. But this is how it came out, and I just fixed the text where it didn't always show, because sometimes it would only show, like, it wouldn't give it enough room. So I moved the text box over with this right text that made it large enough to read it.
Yeah, regarding that, Delia, what's the median income for this area?
That's in your other document.
Pull it up here, see where it says.
Divide that by 12 and full line.
The median family income for our area, which is Wyndham County, is 83,200.
So
That's for a
divided,
family.
that divided by 12.
So in your housing needs assessment, if you turn to that page, if anyone's online can see,
But this, they also include people who don't have families. We talked about their.
it's blurry. Sorry.
That's 6,900, Joe.
Yeah, so it's 6,900, so it's,
Is that for a
that
family?
line is someplace in the middle of that purple.
Right, so the line would move depending on the size of the household.
Correct.
I was gonna
Or
say
what-
that. too.
Oh, okay, I see.
And it
I see
just
what
doesn't, it's probably individual results, right? It's that recount.
No, we didn't break, this question itself wasn't broken down by the size of the household. It's just broken down by respondents.
Because there's a different number for, say, a family of four
Gotcha.
versus an individual.
Yeah, I hear you.
Still,
But still, it's someplace in the purple.
Which is where, because this, like you say, it says, what is your monthly income? It's not asking a household, so these are really gonna be double.
Joe,
yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
could have
no.
asked about the income of the household.
Right, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
we didn't need to get to that, but just now we're comparing that to the median household income.
Right.
Yeah.
There's two different things here. So.
So for question 8, do you think that affordable or attainable housing is a vital component of Woodstock's longevity? With 48.1% saying yes, 23.9 saying no, and 18 saying unsure. One person that skipped it, so we had a good participation on this question. So you have almost half of the people saying that yes, it's a vital component.
It's interesting that third said no.
Yes. And then the next question is, do you think that the existing housing stock in Woodstock is adequate to satisfy future market demands? It's a different response than last time. Now you have 37.6 saying yes, 41 saying no, and 21.4 saying they're unsure.
Statistically, the 37.6 and 41 are the same. That's interesting.
This question is, if you plan to live in your current residence as you age into retirement, do you anticipate being able to afford your home as with the associated costs? So 56.5 saying yes, 11.3 saying no, 19.8 saying not sure, and 12.5 they're not planning to stay here.
Hmm.
So you have 56.5 saying yes, they plan to stay here. And you have 48.1 saying it's a vital component. But then you think about, and we've seen this with the COVID pandemic, people's incomes can often be a little precarious with situations that change. So a lot of those things the town can't do anything about, but good to keep it in mind. How important is it for you to remain in Woodstock as you age? 50.1 say it's very important to stay here. 36.8 a little more than a third saying somewhat important, 13.1, not that important.
They say 87%. They said either somewhat or very important. Which is interesting to know how people view with regards to remaining in Woodstock as you age.
So as far as your respondents go, you have people who really like to live in Woodstock.
Evidently,
If you were to consider moving out of Woodstock, which of the following factors would drive your decision to move? And I did this question because it's good to keep in mind that there's reasons why people live here and reasons why they leave that have nothing to do with anything the town is ever going to be involved in. But there are things that the commission may have an effect on, like the looking for home size that meets needs, if your needs are changing, if you're a single person, and maybe you need more accessibility, like less stairs, maybe you need some handicap accessibility, or maybe you need a smaller home that has less maintenance costs.
It really
That's gonna
generated a
affect
lot
your
of written
needs.
comments, didn't it?
it did. And some of them are very interesting. Look how long.
And you had a pretty good participation rate, only 8 people skipped this question.
Yeah.
So you can't do anything about people wanting to live in a different climate.
A number of respondents said here, consideration of moving out, saying here if Joe Adaletta moves.
Is that out or?
Yeah.
I don't want to see Dr. Pike Road overdeveloped.
We have some people very loyal to the town. I'm not leaving, never moving. So they very clearly want to stay here. We have some concerns about taxes and there's some other concerns here in the comments.
You said you sent this electronically. Can it be is it a PDF or so Word
It's a
doc?
PDF.
PDF? Okay. Trying to think how I can play around with those bullets to kind of group things like comments with each other. To
You should
kind
be
of
able to copy them, like
copy the whole thing in
And
a
then-
new Word document.
on
Yeah.
your mouse button there.
Yep, yep.
or click.
Okay.
You
And
can
it will
copy
save
and
it
paste
into a
somewhere
Word
else, and then you can move it around. I did that with the responses to the last question, because it was
Okay.
all responses.
Yep.
And there were so many of them. I tried to group them and
Saw
then
that.
summarize them into groups, otherwise it would take pages and pages.
Well, someone did make an interesting comment. You were considering to move out of Woodstock. Which of the following factors would drive your decision? Someone said more progressive and supportive community with less discrimination.
We have question 13, if you think more housing options are needed, for whom do you think they are most needed? 43.9 said seniors, 46.7 said working families.
The interesting 20% said, I do not believe we need more housing. Very few said second vacation homes. 1.3%, that's what, 4 people?
One question.
How do I get an insight as to what a working family is? I mean, say very few people, families don't have to work. They're independently wealthy, or maybe that means you're on some total assistance.
I think that's how it would be defined.
Probably could have looked better.
Retirement too, yeah, okay.
I would imagine if one or both heads of the household are working. Because you're right, if someone is independently wealthy and not working or say retired,
I didn't think of the retirement.
wouldn't come into working.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when I think of working family.
I think it's, the parents are working and they have children in home. Both the empty nesters or retirees.
Although some people still define themselves as a family, it's just the mother, father, and kids moved on. I think the Census Bureau still defines that as a definition,
Yeah.
just as you're without kids living with you, the way that they view it. Interesting. There's a lot of Well, there's one thing here. Someone wrote, for volunteer firefighters and EMTs, we should extend the same medical insurances offered to town employees. That was an interesting comment in there.
People complain about the taxes now.
For question 14, I circled the blue, the highest number. Each column.
Seems to be a common theme that we hear from lots of people about all sorts of stuff.
And the same exact results, but I'm showing you the highest, basically the highest rank for each issue. Like what, how did that issue rate in terms of the ranking of 1 through 9?
It was interesting. Whole bunch of ones saying growing, assisting local businesses.
So the red circles, Delia, are
Looking at the issues and how they ranked, and the other one is looking at the rank, of what issue is the top issue.
so the red circles have the highest percentage of that. row.
issue. Yeah, in the row.
Well, again, if you take a look at, let's say, attracting new businesses, between 16% and 15.8%, probably is not statistically significant. But it is interesting to see how some of these numbers spread out, though.
Back on the previous pages. Sorry if I'm giving anyone motion sickness who's looking at the screen. In the location for priority, I'm showing again the highest priority for the row in red and the highest column and highest location ranked by column in blue.
By far, it looks like the highest priority is saying no focus area scattering.
And then question 16, this was all written in responses, and you had 209 people providing responses, but within the response was often multiple things. So I broke up the response by topic and grouped them, and I show in the left how many people had a comment that said that topic.
There's a lot of very interesting comments.
No, Woodstock's respondents, we had 5 people who thanked us for doing the survey. Canterbury only had 2 people thanked to do the survey.
How many for us?
5, but we had 472 people. We had 129.
I was three. No.
You told me you were gonna do more of them. You only did 5?
This last summary, Julia, did that include comment from previous questions, or is it just the comment from the
Just for question 16.
16? Okay. Interesting.
There's a lot of very interesting comments, especially when you start getting into some of, just kind of grouping some of these together. Some of them are very interesting comments as far as, you know, kind of common, certain common things.
Yeah, it is pretty much scattered there with question 15, but it does look like or if you did have to pick an area, the focus area that other than the no scatter, it'd be South Woodstock.
Yeah, a lot of folks were just saying low priority in almost any part of town. It might have been where they live.
Right.
Right. You notice that, but still, it was,
There was, almost 26% South Woodstock.
There were some political comments talking about entrenched racial exclusion through bylaws and zoning restrictions. We talked about, I do not believe we need to keep cutting down trees. A lot of comments about farms. They have cultural makeup. In a lot of areas, comments about taxes, town dump tax costs, utility costs. You clearly see that when people are thinking of affordable housing, they're also putting in a lot of other costs that go into running a household and maintaining a family, which is not a surprise.
Probably think of it as the overall cost of living.
And some people use it as an opportunity to give their opinions on other aspects of the town budget and stuff, which we got some of that when we did the POCD review as far as what people think about how the money is spent. Very interesting.
Do you have any other comments about the results of the survey?
Helpful survey. 473 people. Good. There's a lot of interesting things when I read through this. I want to read through it again. More detail and take some more notes. So, a lot of good stuff that people have been commenting upon. So what they think is good, what they think is bad. Very interesting. Reminds me of some of the comments we got during the POCD process. And some people were talking about what they think about the future of Woodstock in general. So it wasn't specific on housing, but certainly some very interesting themes and comments.
So I have a question about question 14, circles. Just because I'm interpreting this right. Looking at the fourth row, grow existing local businesses. Am I right if I were to say that by adding up the percentages of those 4 blue circles, say roughly 55%, that 55% of people surveyed are in favor of growing existing local businesses?
You mean the blue, those 3 blue ones, if you add all up, numbers 2, 3, and 4?
Yeah, or am I misinterpreting?
Well, I guess if it's,
Well, each value represents a different level of priority. So you could say, if you added them up, you could say we ranked it as a priority between 2, 3, and 4.
but
And then
still,
we're not all
that's
agreeing that it's a priority 2.
the
But
priority
as long
one
as you
is,
said that they agreed that it's priority 2, 3, and 4.
the priority one is the top priority, priority 9 is the lowest priority. So still, you're talking about the top. You're talking about priorities 2, 3, and 4. You're right, Sid, if you add them all up, those are upper in the priorities. That is interesting, growing existing local businesses.
So Jeff, that last row, attracting new residents, is really the bottom of the barrel for most people surveyed.
It would seem to be, because if it's items 8 and 9, those are the lowest priorities, and you're talking about what? Just over 50% are saying
Yeah.
they view it as low priority,
Well,
which is interesting.
Particularly since a lot of this comments are more housing is needed,
Yes,
but
maybe it's more
this
housing for
suggests
people
that
in
we don't
town.
want more
One or
people.
the other, either
Just more houses.
Just-
Right, so if you're in town, you need more housing. But if you want to come in, we view that as a low priority. That is interesting, though.
I think there's quite a few of the written in comments that talk about how if there were housing options for people, perhaps empty nesters or retirees, when they move into the new option, their house becomes available for the family.
But there was also some people who were providing comments saying that they're concerned that if we overdevelop for housing, it's going to change the character of the town or the rural nature of the town. And we got some of that input from people when we did the POCD update. How much do we want to build out the town? You know, some people were raising concerns. We don't want it to be look like a suburb. Turn into a city. But it is interesting. There are a number of, it is interesting parsing through this. Now, as far as where we stand with further work to do, I know the data analysis and needs assessment, is there more stuff you need to do to work on that, Delia? That
I have your.
we have the draft.
I didn't hear from Doug, pointed out an error they had, so I went back to look at the numbers, the gap analysis, and I found I did make an error, so I revised that.
But we don't have that.
No, but I
Revision.
can show it to you now if you want to see it.
Okay, that's fine. We just want to know so that you'll be getting out whatever revision for us.
Yes.
Which page are you talking about? That
The
needs
first
revision?
one with the red bar.
So this needs to be resolved. So we just know that we'll be getting some additional pages or whatever. else. So is it just that page, Delia?
In the next page, so the first one's family for household. And the next one's the single person.
Oh, it's way over here. So those, that's fine. Doesn't matter. Well, those just are going to be revised, so that way what we're showing up on the screen won't get copies of, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what there is. So what you're showing on the screen is the revision?
Yeah.
Do you know what generated Doug's question? Since it looks like part of the,
I had a negative where it was supposed to be positive. And when I went back to look at it, I was like, well, I just want to make sure you double check. So I went back to the column on the right for cumulative owner household and income range that comes from the CHAS data, the comprehensive housing affordability survey. And then the supply column that comes from the ACS. So I went back and I looked at the numbers again.
and you saw the new numbers on that.
I found like, I don't know how I came up with the numbers before, that they were wrong, but I double checked it today.
Okay,
So the numbers you're showing on the screen are the correct ones?
Yes.
Or the revised ones? That's
Right.
fine. Okay,
So the top table on that page is family for homeowners. And the bottom of the same page is family for renter.
oh,
Shows in green, that means it's not a gap, it's you have
excess,
more than you need.
so if we just go to the top of that screen, I'm just looking here. So if it says -49 for extremely low, there's a gap. But when you talk about very low income and low income, those are in green, so there is no gap. There's a surplus. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood it. Same on that one. So it's not -70, it's just +70.
Right.
This is then for renter occupied units, so even for the extremely low income. It's not listing as a gap, as a negative. It's
And
all
then
listed.
when you look at the single person household, it's different income values because you go by that chart, chart that has the values according to the size of your household. Next time we try this, we'll have page numbers, so I apologize for that. With single person household, they have different income values because they're one person households and their owner occupied units, you do have a gap. Yeah, most likely it's because they're lower income, doesn't allow them to purchase as much of a house or as much of value in a house as the family of four, because according to the income chart, the family of four has a higher income allowed to be what's considered, eligible for affordable housing. When you're one person, and you don't have children, then what's considered your affordable level is a lot lower. And then you can afford less. So,
That's for owner occupied.
right, and then the bottom of the same page shows the renter occupied unit.
But for renter occupied, none of these are listed as negative. They're all, the gap is listed as positive. So there's a clear difference between renter occupied and owner occupied. Family of four for single person. Really, negative numbers are showing up on your owner occupied, not renter.
We don't have a lot of. According to the ACS, the town doesn't have that kind of data necessarily, that they can provide to me on which units are rented, because they're probably not gonna know much detail about whether a property is rented or not.
If I could jump maybe 2 pages to the chart up ahead, protected affordable housing, so I can understand the term.
This is- That was just 2 pages.
Second to the last page. That's the one. And the line in bold, the text in bold, says the second bullet, as of 2020, 56 units or 1.56%.
Oh, I have to update that. We now have 2021 data.
But protected affordable housing, that's a definition different than overall affordable housing, because from the other tables, there were all these houses, the 2 tables we just went through for rental and owner occupied. That's what is protected, like the New Roxbury Village.
It doesn't have the 2021 data. I think this chart would make more sense if I provide the totals from the, remember the chart with the columns for all the towns in VCOG? I can show just the data for Woodstock, because it isn't telling us how many units of each.
What is the definition of a protected affordable unit?
A deed restricted is one that's limited to, a person can only live there if they make within whatever the allowed income is.
Just because it says protected, so that's.
But that's not the definition that towns need to reach the, 10% or 15% of housing in a town has to be affordable housing. It doesn't have to be defined as protected affordable housing, right?
I think I probably need to reword that, but.
Okay.
All the units that qualify for affordable for that status.
Yep.
They all contribute to that percentage.
Okay.
Deed
You just-
restricted.
You just don't have
Others
some
do.
of it. Like,
Others
you don't-
do, as well as the deed restriction. Okay,
So deed restricted is one. of the
Yeah.
criteria.
all right. So if, that would be nice to see that number, the total percentage of all the affordable or attainable housing in Woodstock.
Okay. You're gonna revise this anyway. with
Yeah, I'm
2021
gonna add
data.
the table.
Okay.
this year.
We're gonna have to start gelling some of this together as far as what do we think with regards to not just goals, but ways to achieve goals.
Okay.
I'm just gonna draft it, and then you can read it and make changes. I'm hoping to have it done to your 31st.
We can do that, because that way then we can start pulling some of this, because this is all great stuff to have in the appendix, or whatever, 'cause it's great for very much to see the data and whatever. And we very much need to do that, but then we'll have to start pulling some things together as far as what are some of the goals and what do we think is realistic for Woodstock for affordable or attainable, housing based upon the data. Okay. So that'll be something that you'll start. It's on our list anyway, that we're going to be drafting some of this stuff together, to pull some of it together. So that'll be some stuff that we'll take up at the 31st meeting.
Yeah.
Which will give you time to pull some of that together, revise whatever needs to be revised and get out to us.
A lot of interesting data you pulled together. for this draft
Yeah.
report. It covers a lot of ground. Yeah.
The census website is not user friendly.
No, actually, I've gone to it, and it is, they have so much data, it is very much not user friendly to sort through the data. This is actually very good, thank you, because having this type of info, not only is it good to have the data in and of itself, but it's good then to be able to calculate some, recommendations as far as what are realistic goals we can keep.
I haven't seen this yet, but Jeff said I could show it to you. I just put this together today. This is on your condominiums.
Hmm.
So 100, well, my total pie chart totally doesn't work now. Yeah.
15%.
That totally doesn't work. You have 115 two-bedroom condos, 24 one-bedroom condos, and 9 three-bedroom condos.
Hmm.
And then I have all the detail on all the different condos. The point is 37 units.
Where's Stairway Circle? Where's that? one?
I didn't bring them.
Harrison Golf Course.
Ah, okay. Oh, so that's where they come up with Fairways.
So I need to go and look through the records to see if that one had a special permit, because that's the only one after 1992.
Interesting.
So Cornfield Point was 1989. We have 37 units. Long Ridge was 12 units. And then built in 1985. Oakville Estates, also built in 1985, 10 units. Pine Crest and Pine Ridge.
Where are those located?
And on the list, it also said they had apartments, so I have to try to narrow it down. And I was thinking of maybe making a map to show where all of these are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Pine Crest and Pine Ridge and Woodland Park, I see where are those located. I don't know them all by name when I drive by them.
Hmm.
Isn't there one near the vet on 171, the yellow?
That's Brookfield Village. I happen to go by,
That's Brookwood.
or
It's
Brookwood.
That's
What
apartments.
is that?
not
That's
condos.
apartments, not condos.
Apartments. Okay.
I don't know where Pine Crest and Pine Ridge are, and Woodland Parks are. Be nice to see on the map where they are.
I can add addresses to this page.
One's been 8, one has 8 units, one has 3 units. Drive by them, I don't necessarily know the names of them. But
Where's Oak Hill?
I have all the addresses.
It's on Oak Hill.
Yeah.
Right here. It's funny, you have Oak Hill Estates, and then you think you have a road that's called Oak Hill Lane. And then there's some other Oak Hill, it's very confusing. We have Woodstock Hills Estates. And Woodstock Meadows.
I know where that one is.
And then here's the apartment complexes.
oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, the Sunshine House, but that's.
Why is there something on?
That's when they had the fire.
Oh,
Yeah, there was the big fire with, at night.
I didn't know it was fire, so
Yeah, there was
is
unfortunately.
that destroyed?
Well, I think it says like got it all inside. It's, you can't live in it. The house has to come down, but it's. They're gonna call it a total loss or how they found it was a big blaze throughout the. Took them
Yeah,
all
the
night.
story is that it'll be torn down and then the current thinking is they might rebuild. But we'll see what the insurance company pays, I guess, and
Yeah, it was a
what
shame.
their interest is.
Fortunately, nobody was hurt.
Right.
I guess none of the animals were hurt.
Right.
So that's what I have for.
That's
And this
good.
is just the apartment complexes, not to say that there's not other apartments in town, and this doesn't show accessory apartments.
You just wrote
This
out
is
the
just a
senior
larger-
housing.
Larger clusters of apartments,
Any other than that?
24.
It's 24, really? Oh.
So Airbnbs and in-law apartments wouldn't be part of this conversation.
Airbnbs shouldn't have anything to do with this,
Yeah,
because someone could Airbnb their whole house. I mean,
And we don't really
Sure
have a
happens.
listing of those. so,
Right,
yeah.
right.
You know, we've talked about Airbnbs before, about what we
Okay.
wanted to do and not do regulating. There wasn't much of a known use of it at the time. I don't know how much now there is in town. And you can certainly go into Airbnb and Google Woodstock and see who has what. listed.
So these should be numbers, not percentages.
Yeah.
that's stuff that you're gonna be getting out to us anyway.
Yeah, and I'll fix that part and
Yep.
I'll see if I can make a map that shows where all of them.
That would be helpful, because it'd be interesting just to see where, some of them I know, but some of them by name I don't know. So. But, one of the other things is, even though, I've had some people tell me, well, having apartment complexes in town is terrible. You drive by some of them, you don't necessarily, they just all don't necessarily just jump out at you on the road. Some of the bigger ones don't. You drive by Cornfield and Point, and it's there, but it's not as if it's like overbuilt right in the road. Some of it does go back.
Well, I think the point that we're having trouble identifying where some of these,
Yes.
most of these
Yeah,
are
we don't.
is a good sign.
I remember now, the Pinecrest is over off a Trip Road,
Is it really?
and
Wow.
it sits back off the road a ways.
Hmm.
Actually goes down up the hill. There's a bunch of units there. Again, you can't see it from Trip Road, so.
The town can buy the Grange and turn it into a big high-rise apartment building. Called the Grange Estates. Didn't say I was proposing it, but, it's always good to throw ideas out and see what works.
So that's what I've been working on so far.
This is very interesting data. I don't know what, David or Nancy, did you have anything? I don't want to leave you out.
No, it's very interesting data. It's a lot to look at and digest.
Yeah, thank you, Delia, for putting this together. As I said earlier, this is good to have this type of data to help us now sort through some of this and add some of this to some of the comments of what people are saying. What's good, bad, what they want, don't want, that type of stuff. So it sounds like then we'll be getting some revised and some new documents sent out. And then start to work on some drafting so we can start thinking about goals and ways to achieve the goals, especially relative to our regulations and what we've done or not done already with regulations. So, okay. Does anyone have anything else? Okay. The rest of the agenda is CEO reports. Ashley, I don't know if you have anything from the office point of view. I know that the town's working on the budget. My understanding is that they're not proposing any changes relative to your office. I don't shrink it down in any way, or I don't think there's any proposal on this budget coming up. Have any land use clerk or assistant?
Nope.
I know we talked about that before, but it doesn't seem to be something that's gaining traction for the
Yeah.
upcoming budget year,
Yeah.
even though I've raised it.
Yep.
Understanding is where things stand relative to your office hours, what we're doing. Hopefully, I know we asked for a little bit more for the budget this year, but we were cut back actually.
Yep.
So hopefully they'll bring it back up, but otherwise, it doesn't sound like there's really anything major that I've heard.
Nope.
Okay. Not going to be expanding your office. So you have like a-
No, not quite yet. It's not
No.
in the budget.
All right, well, you'll work on that.
Yeah.
Anything relative to permits or enforcement? I know we wanted to follow back up on some questions that were raised about Supreme Sheds.
Haven't heard back from them yet. I just got the certified piece back in the mail to know that they got it. So I'll give them a little bit more time since I just got it this week. So
Okay. It looks like there's been some permitting activity here.
yeah, a little bit. Nothing too crazy yet, but it's starting to pick up. People are calling and asking questions and
Oh,
everything.
the weather's starting to get nice. People are starting to want to do things.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'm sure you'll get busier.
Yep.
So maybe you'll have an update then as far as where we stand with Supreme Sheds.
Yeah.
At least then they received the letter.
Yes.
Because I know they're there. Because when I drive by, I can see there's trucks and piles of wood, or buildings are up, buildings are down.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
All right, well, you'll follow up on that and we'll see where we are with that. Does anyone have any questions about the reports? Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Actually, it's been a while since I see anything listed in a report about people having junkyards.
Yeah.
For a while, there used to be a number of them that people were not being noted for. So hopefully that means we're not getting enough to get junkyards.
Yeah.
If you people are doing it hiding in a way that we can't see them.
Yep.
As far as budget review and bills, our budget ends the end of June. We still have the listing here. So unless anybody has any questions about our budget, and we still have the funds close to 18,500 in PLCD, which we can use some of that money for purposes of the affordable housing. So that's not a concern.
I just had a quick question.
Yes.
On the revenue report, that last item, the landscaping bond, is that where our bond is at? So the $6,000 that we were talking about would come from the landscaping bond line item?
Where is that?
That's the
Yes.
second page of the revenue report, the last line item on the
Oh, I'm
revenue
sorry.
report.
Yeah, I believe that's where it's held.
And that's got like 32,000 in it.
Yep.
Are we the only commission that has the bond? I mean, does inland waters require bonds or building permits?
I mean, that's where like the ENS bonds are for
Right.
like for lawns and different items. Yeah, some of them are
Okay.
older bonds that have been in there.
Yeah,
One's
yeah.
from like Rusty Relic, which I think is like 12,000, so that's a piece of it.
And then there's no, for bills, the only bills I've signed off on it for a couple of public notices.
Nope.
That have floated through. That we need to do anything with. Correspondence, I think I emailed this out. I don't remember if I did. Did I email this out to you guys about what I was notified recently about? Thompson is opening up their Freedom of Information Act workshop to other towns.
Yep.
So if you're interested, yes, so if you're interested, then certainly you can, go accordingly. So you'd actually have to sign up by no later than 10 a.m. on Monday. So if you're interested, then by all means. We don't have any other correspondence. Was there anything else up there? I actually didn't look this week in the mail.
No, nothing that I saw.
Otherwise, that takes us then to the last part of the meeting. Mr. Young is not here.
Yes, I'll move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Where we at? So, motion made very strongly by Mr. Blackman in lieu of Mr. Young. And then seconded by Mr. Gould to adjourn. I have to go through the roll. Joe Adelaide. Aye. Mark Blackmer.
Aye.
Sid Blodgett.
Aye.
Nancy Frazier.
Aye.
Jeff Gordon. Aye. Dean Gould.
Aye.
Jeff Markot.
Aye.
David Moore.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.